Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and this is our first episode of 2021. It's a new year, it's a new dawn. I'm feeling good about it. There's obviously a lot happening already this year, but culturally this week has already been kind of a doozy. I mean, Monday we start off the first big work day of the year around the world, and what happens? Slack shuts down. Slack wasn't working for several hours on Monday morning, and I don't know if it was like a sign of things to come this year, or that the vibes from 2020 are carrying over into 2021, or if it was just sort of Slack's way of saying, we aren't ready yet, give us a couple more hours. I don't know. But whatever it was, it made for some great social media content. And I'm always down for a curveball, and that is what happened on Monday. The next day, however, news came out that I'm still shook by, and that is that Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde are a couple now. Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis broke up last year. The news broke in the fall, but actually I think their split was several months earlier than that. So I don't think the timeline is as iffy as people are saying or speculating about, but regardless, I am into this couple. They are in a movie together, Olivia Wilde's directorial follow-up to Booksmart, which is an amazing movie in and of itself. This one's called Don't Worry, Darling. It also has Chris Pine and Gemma Chan and Florence Pugh in it. They've been filming it in Palm Springs in California. And apparently they hit it off on set. And actually, Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be the role that Harry Styles is in now. So it's honestly, maybe it's meant to be. Maybe they were supposed to link up on the set of Don't Worry, Darling and be the internet's favorite couple within hours of the photos being published. The photos are really something. They're both wearing these like silk face masks. Harry's in a retro tuxedo and Olivia Wilde's in this like very flower girl floral dress. He's holding a drink in one hand and her hand in the other. Other pictures, he's officiating a wedding in a bathrobe. Like, it's a lot to take in, guys. And Harry's my number one, okay? I don't know if I want to be him or be with him or skin him and wearing like last season's Versace, like Dina from The Housewives of New Jersey said once. But you know what? Olivia is a lucky lady, and I'm jealous of her. I'm happy for her. And I'm just excited to see like kind of what the future holds for this couple. A lot of people are already sort of accusing them of leaning into it for PR for the movie. And if they do that, I don't really care. Like, I'm still into it. I'm digging this vibe. People talked about the 10-year age gap. Who cares? It's only 10 years. Like, chill out. They're both adults. They seem into it. And I think everything's all good with her and Jason Sudeikis. So Harry and Olivia, favorite couple of 2021. Let's see if anybody can surpass them. This week on the podcast, we have Leva Bonaparte from Southern Charm. Leva is one of the new cast members for this season on the Bravo show, and she's also the first cast member of color on Southern Charm. And that's notable because Southern Charm has historically been very entrenched in sort of like this old South, very white-centric society, and I think for Leva to be a cast member on the show and be part of kind of Bravo's overall efforts to diversify a lot of their shows and not shy away from racial issues is really notable. And she has really leaned into kind of tackling really hard issues and tackling controversy on this show when a lot of other cast members are afraid to talk about it. When Kathryn Dennis sent these kind of racist messages to somebody and was totally held accountable for it by the public, the rest of her cast members didn't really hold her accountable except for Leva. Leva had this really intense FaceTime call with her where she talked Kathryn through why it was wrong and why, she can't just like get off scot-free from this and what it really means. And Kathryn Dennis is a descendant of John C. Calhoun, and in Charleston, they tore down a statue of him, and they filmed that, and Leva brought some of her friends there, and they had this intense conversation about it. And so throughout the interview, Leva and I talked a lot about this and sort of what her joining the show meant and how she has sort of tackled this new kind of career path for herself. Because she's also a huge entrepreneur. She owns a ton of bars and restaurants with her husband in Charleston, including Republica, which is one of the kind of hot spots in Charleston that they always hang out on Southern Charm. And she's really good friends with Cam, who left the show before this season started because Kathryn brought up the cheating rumors about her husband. And a lot of people think that Leva went on the show just to avenge Cam and take down Kathryn. And so we talked about all of that. And she was very level-headed and she was very to the point. And it was really a fun conversation because she doesn't shy away from it. And she is not afraid to talk about these kind of things. So I really found that refreshing. I think we both want and I think a lot of people want more fun on Southern Charm going forward, but I think this season was necessary. It was a necessary kind of reset and reckoning, and it's an important season of TV, I think. My interview with her got me thinking about my past interactions with Southern Charm members, and I haven't actually interviewed that many Southern Charm people. I interviewed Shep when he had that short-lived one-season spin-off relationship, and he came in like very tired, probably hungover. We had a Facebook Live interview several years ago, and it was just kind of like whatever. He was a good guy, but nothing sort of memorable from that interview. And then like a year and a half ago or so, Craig had a quote-unquote pillow party for his pillow line at a hotel in New York, and I interviewed him there. And he was great, just as you would expect, super smiley, super fun. And that was great. But my favorite Southern Charm interaction or kind of funniest interaction was with Kathryn. Not last year. Oh my God. BravoCon was in 2019, not last year. I'm going to have to get used to saying that. It's 2021, not 2020. Whew. Okay. So 2019 BravoCon, they had this thing called the Bravo Bazaar, and it was where like kind of all the Bravo celebrities set up these booths to hawk their wares. The Summer House cast had a Loverboy little setup, and Tom and Ariana from Vanderpump Rules had a thing to sell their cocktail book. Jill Zarin had a Jill Zarin fabric stand. Dorinda Medley had a Dorobics apparel situation. And so there's a bunch of other people, but one of them was Kathryn Dennis, who I guess has like a children's furniture line named after her kids. I just checked the Instagram though, and they haven't posted for like a year, so who knows where that stands. But at BravoCon, when my brother and I were sort of strolling the Bravo Bazaar, Kathryn Dennis comes strolling in with her posse. And first of all, she is one of the tallest Bravo celebrities I've seen. Probably the tallest. She was wearing heels. She had a huge hat on. She was a very commanding presence. And they were like doing some giveaway of one of the stools from her furniture line. And my brother and I just like happened to be standing there. So they were like, hey, do you want this signed stool from Kathryn Dennis? And I was like, I mean, sure. So she autographed a little like upholstered stool, which I still have in my apartment. And we took a picture together, and she was like, oh my God, you guys are so adorable. And then I was stuck carrying around this freaking stool all of BravoCon the entire rest of the weekend. And so like I'm literally like lugging it around to different panels and interviews and things. And it's like I think at some point I like hid it behind a reception desk for like a whole day. But now I have a stool in my apartment signed by Southern Charm cast member Kathryn Dennis. And you know what, guys? It's going to be worth something someday. So like, I think I'm the lucky one here. So yeah, that's my favorite, most notable Southern Charm interaction to date. Hopefully there's more to come, because that's kind of a sad interaction. But anyway, keep listening for my great full interview with Leva Bonaparte from Southern Charm. Tune into Southern Charm on Bravo Thursdays at 9. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy. So we are here with Leva from Southern Charm. Leva, thanks for calling in today. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I know. I'm just trying to get through it. But how is
VHS videos behind you?
That's my DVD collection. Thank you
Are
very
they
much.
I was like trying to figure it out. I keep looking back there.
I'm back at home for the holidays, and this is my childhood bedroom, and it's my DVD collection from growing up. So.
Oh, I love it. I always used to wish I kept mine. I remember being like, I should keep this cartoon or whatever, and I never did. Moved to
So, I mean, obviously, 2020 has been a big year for a lot of reasons, but for you, in terms of like projects that you were taking on in your career, Southern Charm has been a huge, probably has changed your life a lot, just in terms of your day to day, and because it was filmed this year and now it's airing. You know, talk me through this year and just sort of the ups and downs of it for you.
So filming was kind of, obviously I went from being busy to being like insanely busy, and I didn't really know stepping over that threshold, how nutty it would be. I thought to myself like, oh, it's just another thing I'll handle,
Right.
But it was a lot. I didn't anticipate sort of like the drama hangover of every time we hung out. Like I needed to decompress. Right. I usually, we get drama in our business a ton, but I'm sort of above it, I just have to mitigate it or, whatever. But this was like stuff I kept getting pulled into. So I was like, oh my God, I have a headache. I'd never taken so much Advil in my life. So I didn't anticipate that. And then filming, it's just weird because you film and you're just kind of yourself, and then you see it on television and you're like, ugh, like what? Why do I keep saying what, you know, you get uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. Hearing my own voice makes me uncomfortable. I'm sick of my own face. I literally don't even want to watch it. Like when it, you know, we get it before, and then I cringe watching it again on television. I don't know if you get used to that or it just always stays that way, but it's just cringy. And then it's just like, you realize like people really, really like have strong opinions and emotions.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. And I did not anticipate that. And I always have been kind of a girl that's like, I don't care what people think, but then I'm like, whoa, that was really mean. You know, I am a human being, you know, so that's been a little bit hard. I think that people think of me as like this hard girl, or that I'm really tough, but I'm still human, and I don't want to feel like I hurt anybody. I so don't want to be hurt, you know, so that's been the toughest.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, we can get more into it in a little bit, but like, I think that Southern Charm has gone through kind of a big transformation this year. It's you know, it's addressing things that, you know, if you had told me even a year ago that it was going to be addressing, I wouldn't have believed you, you know? And I think that like, that's all a great thing in my opinion, but I think that sometimes people who are so possessive and loyal to these shows, when something changes, you know, they maybe take it out on the new person, I guess.
Go off the rails. Babe, off the rails. I'm just like, whoa, what's happening? All I did was, you know,
join the show. Right. Yeah. So for you, in terms of like watching it back, has that been sort of like the biggest learning curve for you, which is just sort of like dealing with the feedback from viewers?
Yeah, I think I work for myself for a reason. I don't always do well with everybody. That's why I always say I'm not for everybody, you know. I definitely have always I'm always direct. I always have clear opinions, and it doesn't always like fit well with people. Some people would almost like prefer you skirt around them, or prefer you talk behind their back, or prefer you package everything in like a really beautiful package and deliver it and sit there while they open it. Like, no, I'm just going to say what I think and like, let's figure it out. It's almost an efficiency thing for me. Like, can we just power this out and move on? So yeah, I mean, you see a lot of things where you're like, chill, Leva, like, take it down a notch, you know. I wish I was a little more woo-saw, but what people don't understand too is that, you know, you're seeing a synopsis, so to speak, of, you know, and a synopsis based on, you know, what's decided is most important about a 3-hour conversation, you know? So that is the control factor of me not being able to explain the context and the background and how did we get to that sentence, you know? I'm an overtalker, as you can tell. So, you know, I want to do the whole, I meant this in this context and in this way, and not being able to do that is a little, makes me like itchy.
Yeah, there's a part of it. There's a part of it that's out. There's a part of it that sort of like by signing on for the show, you signed on to sort of like get the power taken out of your hands a little bit, you know, and that's just part of the
more
deal.
Than a little bit. Yeah. And you know, I knew that moving forward because I am not comfortable with these type of situations, and the reason that I took this long to sort of even join, I even, you know, in recent years said, you know, I'm not even going to film here and there. I just don't want to, was because I had to be in a place of yes. And I had to be in a place of like surrender. I know it sounds cheesy, but it really is. For a person who's like a control freak, I'm in a place of surrender where I'm just like, okay, I do not have the end say of how all of this is going to go down. And so I think it's been a season of me personally learning to stretch and see myself in a different light and look at what I can do better. And also giving myself grace. I'm not good at that. It was a tough fucking Sorry, am I allowed to swear? It was
totally. Yeah. And I think that you being so open about that is really welcome, at least for me as a viewer. And it's like, you know, I think some people are sort of like, oh, like, is it too soon to relive all this stuff? And it's like, I kind of just sort of like, let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's continue to sort of mine this and figure out an answer for everyone, because it has been really tough for everyone. And I think it's great that you're just kind of addressing it head on. And, you know, and you mentioned that, you know, like you've been around for filming in past years, and you've been, you know, sort of in this same social circle as a lot of the cast. I'm guessing a lot of that is because of Republic, which is one of the establishments that you and your husband operate. Was that sort of a big way for you to sort of bond with the people on this show before you joined? Is that how you guys sort of like shared social circles?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Danny obviously for years. She's through my baby shower with Naomi, and I think that I've known Craig for years, and that's sort of based on Republic, because he'd be dating girls and me and Lamar would be at the front and he'd be like, well, I don't know about this one, and I don't know about that one. And he'd come and give us like his whole thing the night. And like I introduced him to one of the girls he dated for a while. So yeah, I get to see everybody in the dark. And of course those are just the trade secrets that I will always keep, because everyone's like, tell me this, tell me that. No, that's not what I do.
Lips are sealed, right?
Yeah, lips are sealed on that one. But yeah, I see them in the, like, sort of in the dark, and I've known everybody. And like I always say, I'm like, they've all been invited to my birthday party, but like so have another 150 people. So however you want to look at that. And there are a few of them that are closer. And yeah, and that's sort of, we've known each other, and obviously I've been so close to Cam, and we see each other a ton of stuff. But this year we got a lot closer.
I'm sure. And I feel like Republic specifically, it's almost like an extra cast member on the show. It's like even people who have never been to Charleston, we know what Republic is because of Southern Charm. Like
it's like everything happens there. All the like conversations and the downloads and the drama and the arguments. Like, I mean, Kathryn and Thomas like met, like hung out their first time there. Like, it's crazy.
That's history.
My wedding shower was there. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
It really is. It's part of Southern Charm history. So I think it's kind of like a full circle moment. I feel like to see you on the show as a cast member, and it's kind of fun. So I feel like this year, again, it's a kind of a reset for Southern Charm in some ways, in that, we lost Cam, Naomi, and Chelsea, and we got you, and we got Pringle, and we have a couple other sort of friends of the cast that are in. Was there any disappointment for you, just because you are close to Cam and you knew some of the other people that left, for that you didn't get to film with them, like as a full-time cast member? Or
of course. Yeah, of course. I was just saying this the other day, and I was saying, Cam and I, even in recent years, not that we've drifted apart, but like we've just been really busy. We're moms, we're working, she's filming, I'm doing a gazillion things. So just being able to schedule time, I was thinking in my head, like, yay, we don't have to schedule it. We'll just see each other and this will be great. And I'm not very close to Chelsea, but I'm very close to Naomi, and even almost closer to Naomi in recent years than Cam. So I was over the moon about just being able to see them. Like, that's like, oh, I get to go to work with my besties. And then when they didn't sign on, I was like, no, what the? And so, but I respect it. It doesn't serve them anymore. I get it. I'm a big proponent of like, if something doesn't serve you anymore, I respect that.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything seasons, and all the seasons will be different,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, do you feel as though, like, even just being around for filming or seeing filming happening in and around Charleston, do you feel like that prepared you for being on the show, just in terms of like knowing what it all kind of entails, like, and not being sort of like camera shy or shy about seeing yourself?
I think filming in the prior seasons, even when it was just like an event here or things like that, or like a little party here, a conversation there. I came in almost to a fault, like not even feeling like the cameras are there. Yeah. And that can be really dangerous. I wish I was more freaked out by them. Like, I try to freak myself out more, but I'm just like, I forget they're there. I really am the type of person, like, if I'm having a conversation with you, and my husband always laughs at this, he's like, there could be an explosion next door and I can't even hear it because I'm so into who I'm talking to. I'm just like that. I get really hyper focused. And so I forget the cameras are there, and it's not necessarily good for me. It's maybe good for the viewer, but it's not always good.
Hey, that's part of reality TV, I guess. And I feel like, I've been watching Southern Charm for years, and I am very like in tune with sort of the social media response to it all. And I feel like there's been this sort of narrative that's come up this season on Southern Charm, which I don't personally like think is valid at all. But I think there's a lot, again, it sort of gets back to what we were talking about before, which is some people sort of want to like say that you came on the show to sort of like, avenge Cam and take Kathryn down. And like, that's sort of like this like a narrative that's been pushed, I think, from like certain people on Twitter and in the comments. Yeah. And which is just like so, it just like so premeditated, which is, it's just like, that's not what it was. But I'm curious, what is your response to that? And like, do I don't know, like, how do you feel just about people trying to like make sense of that?
I think it's because viewers just don't know my personality. Like if whatever Cam and Kathryn had before has nothing to do with me, and I've told Kat that I'm like, whatever y'all had or whatever this is, I don't care for it. And I'm a really kind of loyal friend, like to a fault. And so for me, my only thing with Kathryn was like, don't speak on this, please. And if you do, we can't be friends. I have to set friendship boundaries,
Yeah.
That was that. I'm too busy for that kind of like maniacal, calculated, like, dude, I have like business. I don't have time for that type of stuff. Like maybe if I was 21 and like didn't have much going on, or
we're over that. Yeah.
Like I just wanted to be like the hit reality TV. Like, I don't know. I don't.
That's not your move. That's not your move. No.
Not my move. I actually wish I was more calculated because I probably will protect myself from narratives like that. But I really just react on like and don't take this in a self-righteous way. I'm fully flawed. It just was like, that doesn't feel right to me. So like, shut up. Don't say that. It's grimy. Like
totally.
And I respect her for stopping talking about it, Yeah. And then when it came to the other stuff, it just feels like people are tone deaf. Like, you think that my issue with what Kathryn said has to do with avenging Cam? Like, no, it has to do with respecting people and the way you speak to them and not living, and educating yourself about the history of, minorities and, all that good stuff. Like, so when people say that, I'm like, well, you should be embarrassed.
Totally. And those are two separate lanes of they're two totally separate issues. Like the fact that they're even being conflated is kind of like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, it's, so I'm always going to say, and I'm always going to be the friend that you might not want. And that's why I always say I'm not for everybody, because in the end, Kathryn might feel like I was hard on her, or the viewers might be like, oh, you're out to get her. And I'm like, I'm actually being her friend. I'm telling her what you said is not okay. I'm saying it to her face. I'm telling her truly how I feel in this moment, and that may change over time. Over time, I may say like, listen, I'm really proud of you. And like, I know, and I have said that to her. I know this wasn't easy. I know it wasn't easy to walk through this, but it has to be addressed. And I, have even had recent texts with her where I'm like, I'm kind of proud of us. Like, we didn't do it perfectly, but we walked through like a really scary valley together. And I hope that other friend groups can do it too.
And did she recognize that as well? Just sort of being proud of you guys for airing that out?
Yeah. We didn't do it perfectly. And, I made mistakes in the way that I handled it. She's made mistakes in what happened and probably the way she reacted to it. And so did the whole group. Like, it was a mess, but we're human beings and we're just trying to navigate something that's like, it's such a hot topic. And my whole point was, it doesn't have to be a hot topic. It can just be addressed, and we can fix it as a friend group, and we can all learn from it, and we can all move forward and do better, because canceling people and all this like animosity and, changing the narrative and spinning it and deflecting it, like that does nothing for anybody. And that was the whole reason I was like, this doesn't have to be so weird and awkward. The mention of history doesn't have to be so triggering, except for those that it really hurts.
Exactly. Yeah.
It should trigger African Americans, but I don't think it should trigger the rest of us. I think the rest of us should be like, this wasn't okay. It's not only happened in America, it's happened everywhere. I know that, but we are filming it in America.
Yeah. And I think that you were there to give that reality check to people. And I think that, even just that FaceTime call with Kathryn, I think that you're right. You were being an honest friend, and you like a lot of other people were probably skating around the issue because they were probably themselves scared to talk about it. And I think the fact that you addressed it head on.
They were like, we want nothing to do with Kathryn, or like, oh, we don't even want to touch it. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And I was like, I'll touch it. I know it's a hot potato, but I'm going to hold it, and we're going to hold it together. And so that's how I friend. And I know that it's perceived as me trying to maybe be an antagonist or whatever, but I'm like, that's how I friend. You may not like it, but.
Yeah. And there was a point where she was sort of like, I'm going to reach out to Leva and I'm going to have her kind of help me through this. And I'm curious, as again, a lot has been made of, you're the first woman of color on Southern Charm ever. And I'm curious if you sort of felt that she was putting you think she leaned on you too much? Like, do you think that there was a little bit of that, or were you totally okay with sort of, just helping her walk through it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a two-sided thing. Did I feel like I carried a lot of the heaviness this season? Yeah, I would have loved to run around and just be fun and giggle and fall in bushes and jump in the pool. But like, I just felt like I had wished, and this wasn't even about Kathryn, I had wished the rest of my castmates, with the exception of Danny, had shown up a bit more for this, because it wasn't going to go away. We're not going to brush it underneath the rug. So can you all show up? And, it starts to be, you start to see it towards the end of the season. And so I wish that they had, and so that sort of like the so-called burden could have been spread.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Tired of it, but I also think that if someone like me I'm not African-American, clearly. I'm also not white, clearly. And so I think that had she reached out to a white friend, she wouldn't have gotten what she needed. And had she reached out to an African-American friend, I don't think it would have gone over well. And so I think if there's anybody that could be sort of that conduit for that information, it would be me. So that's really why I did it. I didn't do it for Kathryn. I didn't do it for anything except for, listen, the universe is handing you this thing. You have the bandwidth for it. You do have, I don't want to say a great understanding. I'm not African-American, but I have a smaller, my window is open.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And you're raising a Black son. And so you are familiar with a lot of these issues and themes. And I think that, at the end of the day, like, again, I think that we're part of this sort of reckoning across industries in 2020 and when it comes to race. And Bravo, I think, when it comes to TV and reality TV, I think Bravo has really embraced this moment to really check themselves and change things and welcome in new points of view that they hadn't maybe before or hadn't been thinking as much about it. I think you stepping up to the plate in this moment this year, it's part of this sort of historic bigger moment. And I think you should be proud of that. Yeah. And I think that's probably not why you're doing it, to make some big impact or whatever yourself, but you are part of this. I think, again, you should commend yourself for that a little bit, because it's been fulfilling to watch, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really sweet. I always tell people the night before the statue removal, I got a text from a couple city officials and a couple, the mayor's wife and a few different people saying, listen, we know this is important to you. Would you like to come to this thing? And I was scheduled to film that day. And I thought to myself, do I just say I'm sick, to the crew and just say I can't film and quietly go? And then I thought, and I was sleeping in the bed with my son and I just saw him sleeping and I was like, no. I just gotta go. I gotta bring the cameras. And it really wasn't I'm not trying to be any moral compass or anything. I'm just here it is. Here's the hard, gritty stuff. Let's just stop leaving it in the dark. You can't go to an AA meeting and be like, I'm not an alcoholic. You gotta just admit what's been done.
Yeah. And move along.
Pain is still there. And we move forward with the realization that generational pain exists, and that there are still things in the system that we have to fix. And that's it. Have to. So
no, exactly. Yeah, totally. And I'm excited to see sort of where that goes the rest of the season. And we're still pretty early in the season, but you guys have filmed the reunion already. You guys had reunion day, which is another huge first, I think, when joining a Bravo show, which is you have to come prepared for that reunion. I mean, obviously you can't tell me much, but can you tease sort of how that experience went for you, particularly as a newbie?
Dude, I rolled in there oh, I'm in glam. Great. Just literally had a coffee, was just listening to music, and it was funny because I ran into one of the other cast members the night before and she was like, oh, I got to get my receipts. I was like, receipts? What do you mean receipts? What do you mean? She's like, oh, I got to get this. And I was like,
come prepared.
Yeah, and it was funny because there was a couple of makeup artists there, and she was like, "You don't have receipts?" I was like, "Receipts for what?" I kind of went to my kind of nervous, and then me and Danny were FaceTiming, and we were just, laughing about stupid things we said and did and whatever. So that kind of lightened the mood. But I had no idea that reunions come in so venomous, and I really had just come in sipping my water and being like, oh, this is where we're all going to just like kumbaya. No. No,
it's not kumbaya at the reunions. Maybe by the end a little bit there's a fake kumbaya.
Yeah, maybe by the end, yeah, but it was not kumbaya. Nobody came to kumbaya. Yeah.
And, wrapping up a little bit, I think previously on Southern Charm, we had sort of this central relationship that was very tumultuous and chaotic, which was Kathryn and Thomas. And now there is sort of a newer central relationship, which is Austin and Madison. It's impossible to keep track of where they stand. I think as at least as a viewer, I don't know how it is as somebody who is closer to them, but just as a cast member, as somebody who is friends with them, what is your stance on Madison and Austin? What do you like? I'm curious where your thoughts are with them.
They shouldn't be together. I mean, it's super toxic, and it will just continue. It's almost, in the beginning, the beginning of hanging out with them, because I've known them sort of separately. I don't really hang out with them together. I was kind of like, it's none of my business. But after a few months, I was like, can y'all break up? Like, I literally feel like you are like my brother and sister-in-law or my mom and dad. Like, this is bleeding over into me.
Yeah.
And then they weaponize us as friends because it becomes toxic. Well, love us, you try to support their breakup by being like, oh, you should go ahead, Austin, this is wonderful girl. And then like they get back together and then that's, well, you told him to date another girl. I'm like, he was broken up. He was upset. Of course. I wish that for you too. So they constantly like weaponize when we're trying to support them. And so I think at this point this year, everybody was like, listen, if y'all stay together, it's y'all against the world. Like, we're done with you. If you want to be apart, then like we can be friends. But at this point, you guys being together, we don't even want to be friends if you guys are in this group. Because it was it literally was like, I don't even want to be friends with these people if Austin and Madison are together. And here.
It just brings everyone else down. And it's just like, oh my God.
It was just like, it was almost becoming like an epidemic. The toxicity was just like, it's just spreading because, like I said, it's a constant receipt game, and it's a constant, like, what can I use to get people on my team? And it's just like, dude. And I remember talking to Austin, I was like, this is not love. This is not love.
It's lust. So, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And lastly, I want to add on a note that I've been, I think several seasons ago on Southern Charm, it was sort of like the female cast members sort of like took the power back, I think, from the boys club, I would say. And I think that trend has sort of continued into this season. I see Madison kind of laying down the law with Austin. I see you coming in and really kind of shaking things up. I think Danny's kind of taking the power back when it comes to Kathryn. Like there are these really kind of amazing moments where again, the female cast members are sort of like, to me, like it's all about you guys, and in a great way. What do you hope the kind of like the next iteration of like what's the next season of Southern Charm look like to you? Like, what do you hope the future? Does it continue to evolve? Does it continue to sort of like move in that direction? Because again, culture is changing. I think the show is beginning to change with the culture. But what do you think about the future for it?
I mean, I think definitely the South is changing, even though many people don't want it to be. And I think it's changing on many levels, and some of those levels being, really, and this is for the whole world, like these strong voices, not even just female, but people who get drowned out, like Danny can sometimes seem soft, but you really start to see her pick up her voice and be like, no, I think people are learning that communication is literally the key to everything. And I think we learn that sort of like on these reality TV, like pop culture type situation.
Totally.
But Charleston's changing. It is not the old Charleston anymore. And what I would like to see is just maybe like a bit of a bigger friend group, because I just know we have a lot going on. What I'd like to see is a little bit more fun next year, because this year was really heavy and it was really hard. I always say there's some song that's called We Gave It All or something, and I'm like, we literally gave it all.
You put it all on the table. You really did.
Like we put everything on the table. Like, I just want to have a little bit I want to have a little bit of fun next year, honestly, and get back to just being able to be friends. And I hope Austin and Madison stay separate. We can all have a good old time, and you guys get to see a little bit more of everything that we have going on.
Yeah, I think people love the fun of Southern Charm as well as the drama, but you know, I think that's one of its kind of biggest characteristics is just kind of like laughs and partying and I think we missed out a little bit.
I do love, honestly, like this year, and people always say like, oh, how do you feel about being like the first person of color and all this stuff? And I was like, I didn't really think about it.
Right, exactly.
I think I'm really proud of this show because I'm authentically friends with these people. I wasn't like cast and placed and like it wasn't this big calculated thing. And I know that, you know, in all of America, we tend to gravitate, some of us not, but a lot of us tend to gravitate to people that are like us, you know? And I think that the world will only heal when our friend groups become more diverse in all ways.
Absolutely.
You know, lifestyle, religion, background, financial, like all that stuff. Like you don't really see the world differently until you really love a person. It's really different from you.
Yeah, that's a good way.
And I think that's, you know, like friend love. Like my friend is really different than me and he makes really different choices and comes from a really different family and his religion's different and his choices are different. I love him to death and I will always fight for him. So I think that I have a diverse group that I've always gravitated towards people that are different to me because I find them interesting. And so I would hope that maybe some of those people can come and join this cast. And I think that's where there's a lot of depth and cool stuff that could happen.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for the prospect of that, hopefully, crossing my fingers. Leva, it was so fun to meet you and talk to you. Where can people follow you to get more from you?
Probably just Instagram. I don't
know. Look up Leva on Instagram. Yeah, and tune into Southern Charm Thursdays on Bravo. Thank you, Leva. It was so fun to talk to you.
Thanks.
Bye.
You're so fun. Call me anytime.
Thank you so much for listening. For more celebrity interviews, subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you heard, please rate and review us, as any show of support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow In the Know at In the Know on Twitter and at Watch In the Know on Instagram. We'll talk to you next time.